Hey guys, this is Shawn Sandridge and I'm here. I am back for a review of the new Celebrity Apprentice. This is season 15, episode 5. I am going full Ballmer. So I know I am late for this review, and you guys know that who have been following me. If you haven't been following me and this is your first time checking me out, just know that I am going to be a little bit late next week because I am flying out for work and my reviews on Sunday and Monday is going to be delayed, but I am late. I had some technical difficulties. Check me out on YouTube, check me out on Twitter, and check me out on IG. Same name, keeping it simple, and I will let you know what I've been doing since Jumpstart January and why I am finally back, delayed with this Celebrity Apprentice. So let's just get into it. So the task is, the owner of the Clippers is Steve Ballmer, who also was the CEO, and he ran Microsoft for 14 years. This guy has the energy of, let's just say, the Energizer Bunny. Can't even keep up with him. To see clips of him as he is talking on YouTube, talking to his people on Microsoft, you cannot get hype. If you're, I don't even know how you cannot be hyped when you're around him. But he is trying to revise the Clippers. He is the owner of the Clippers, and he is trying to ramp up Clipper Nation. And what the task is at timeout to have a high energy presentation that promotes Clipper Nation, Clippers, the brand, and have the energy for the fans. So they have to come up with a signature Clippers t-shirt that goes to the crowd. They have to they're going to be viewed on overall creativity and presentation, and see an exciting t-shirt design, and they have to get their fans on their feet. So in this particular task, whoever's the project manager will get $75,000 because it's $25,000, and he decided to double it. So he is going to give $50,000 to the winning team project manager. So $75,000 is at stake. So the project manager for Arete is Ricky, and the project manager for Prima is Lisa. Now, Ricky delegated everyone to a task. They decided to use his words for Microsoft. And I believe it was Matt that found a clip on YouTube. And when you see him, Steve Ballmer, in full effect, you get an idea of who he is. And he is full of high energy, and watching him and doing his speech to the Microsoft team, he is over the top, and it's no play. He's really like that. When you see him, he's just frenetic. He's just high energy. And so they decided that they were going to use his words. And in the beginning of a speech, he says, you know, I love Microsoft. And so they decided that the chanting that they were going to use for the fans to get up is, I love this team, essentially using his words and putting it out there. So Prima was creative, but I wasn't sure if they were flashy or excited enough. And Lisa is very reserved by nature. There's no, if she was on fire, you wouldn't really know that she was on fire, because she'd be like, yes, I'm kind of hot and there's a lot of flames, and I should get somebody to take me out, an extinguisher. The extinguisher is over there. Like, that is the way. She's like that all the way. So they came up with a t-shirt. That was one of the tasks that they had to do. Prima came up with a t-shirt, and Arete came up with a t-shirt. Now, Ricky decided, since he was a project manager, that he would say classic, and it was nice. It was black, but I didn't think that he really took on the idea of who the owner was, and he wanted something really, really flashy. He wanted something that was going to excite the fans and excite the crowd. And Ricky, who's a former pro football player, said, I'm around sports all the time. I know this field. And I would have thought that he would have liked it, but it was supposed to be a commemorative t-shirt, and it was black, and it says, I love this team, and had the logo, and it was nice, and it was classic, but it wasn't flashy. It wasn't something that made me think like, I really want this shirt. Now, I will say for Prima had Boy George and Carson. And Carson and Boy George, they are very in sync, and they feed off, they're very creative people, and they came up with this bright red shirt, and it had a logo and everything. And what they did is they used their celebrity images. They had the hat for Boy George, and I can't remember what they had for the other two, but they had little nuances. Now, personally, I don't know if I would get the shirt, but when you compare the red bright shirt, it was bright red with blue letter. I mean, it was definitely not a classic shirt. And it, you know, red is an excitable color, of which I'm wearing my red for, if I haven't said it already, and my favorite red lipstick. I'm wearing it for National Go Wear Red Day, to commemorate women and heart disease, and women know your numbers, so that you can get yourself checked and make sure that you do not succumb to heart disease. We are running neck and neck with men. So let us not be the winners on that. So I'm just wearing my commemorative red. Okay, so I don't know if I would wear it, but it was definitely flashy, and it definitely felt like it was more true to what he was looking for. So the jury's out. I really didn't feel one way or the other who was the better team to win this, but they had to come out and do their presentation during the timeout game. So Arete came out, and Matt, who is very high energy, I talked about how he was very high energy for the Harry Potter because that was his passion. He was the hype man, and I thought they were okay. Brooke was part of the creative team, and she was doing whatever Ricky told her to do. And Layla Ali, she was out there, but she was under the weather. She wasn't, you know, she's never really that high intensity kind of person in your face. She's very much a silent storm, and she was under the weather, so she wasn't doing what you normally would expect her to do. She wasn't very vocal. So with Prima, they decided Boy George was going to do a song, and they were going to do a song that was going to be worth chanting. And okay, so I told you guys this from the very beginning, that I was a huge Boy George fan, okay? Any of my friends from high school will attest that I was a Boy George fan. You know, there's 4 things you need to know about me when it comes to music. 1, I came to my own in the 80s, and I was all about Culture Club, Boy George. I was all about George Michael. I was all about Prince and Michael Jackson. That was it. And so anytime Boy George comes up, my heart melts. And I have to say, one of the few things that I'm always wary about reality shows and things like that is that I'm going to have this realization that the person that I have been fawning over and fanning out over is so human that I don't like them. And that is the risk you run when you have a lot of stars doing reality shows. But I have to say that Boy George, he, you know, from 1982, when I fell in love with Culture Club and have followed Boy George in his career, and is a huge fan, is on my iPod. I know the words. I would fan out if I saw him. He is everything that I hope for as a fan if I saw my favorite celebrity performer. Gracious, sweet, kind. I love him to death. And he had the gospel singers. He came out with his great song, which was he said, this is not, I've never done a jingle. He doesn't know anything about basketball. And he had to come up with a song, but he's creative. And this was one of the things about Prima. Prima had Boy George, Carson, and Lisa Leslie. Now, Lisa Leslie is an Olympian when it comes to basketball, the greatest female basketball player ever. And here we are at a big basketball game. And Arnold's nephew came and asked her if she was going to do any moves, and she said no. It would seem so cliche. And he's like, but you are, it's like almost like Michael Jordan coming into something and asking him if he's going to do something like dunk the ball, and he says no. Like, he was wondering, why is that? Why is that? So he was confused. But she says, no, I'm going to stand back, and it would be a fail. And George and Carson don't know anything about basketball, and I'm just not going to do it. So he was a little confused about that. So Steve went and saw the Arete team and was trying to get a feel of what they were going to do. And he thought that what Matt was going to do was kind of a shameless thing, because he was essentially taking his words, and he thought that maybe he was sucking up to him and brown-nosing him. But he didn't know Matt, and he doesn't know what kind of hype he has, and they're almost kind of two sides of the same coin when it comes to when they have passion. They're really just over the top. So Matt was really trying to channel his energy and channel his passion, and it translated to Steve as being a little mockery and a little hokey. So Steve wasn't really feeling Matt, and Matt was like not really, he felt like, oh my God, what have I done? But he really wanted to express and understand that he got his passion, and it just didn't translate. So he was kind of surprised that it turned out, but So they did the halftime. Arete came out. Matt was the hype man, and they had the t-shirts, and it was good. It was okay. It was good. Prima came out, and Carson was out there crazy. Boy George came out there and did the song, had the gospel singers out there, had people on their feet and all that stuff. And Carson ran out and dumped the t-shirt on it was Arnold and Steve and the nephew, and ran out and hyped it. It was okay. Now, when I watched both of the halftime shows, I really did not know who was going to win. Again, I'm biased. I like the song. For an Englishman who doesn't know anything about sports in general and American sports specifically, I thought Boy George had a great song. It was simple, it was memorable, and it was catchy. And anytime you want to get fans up at a sports event, those are the items that you want. So I really thought that they did a better job with the crowd, even though Arete's crowd on the onset was pretty hype. Anyway, so they're in the boardroom. So they were going to be rated on the t-shirt, they're going to be rated on the audience participation, and they were going to be rated on creativity. So Steve Ballmer was there. Steve Ballmer was wondering, why is it that the greatest female basketball player didn't do anything? He thought that it was a missed opportunity on their team's part. And he was really disappointed that she didn't use her celebrity and who she is, a basketball player at a basketball event, not doing something basketball. All she had to do was dribble the ball. All she had to do was spin the ball. She didn't have to do anything. And Carson and George didn't even have to be there, really. She was the athlete. She was in her element. Why she didn't do anything, who knows? Frankly, I think she was a little scared. I think she might have thought that her skills were a little rusty, and she didn't want to go and try to hit a three-pointer and rim it. I don't know. I think that's what it was. I think she was afraid of her own rustiness, and she didn't just want to do it. The price point for the Arete team for the Glide was like $109.99, and psychologically, women don't look at over $100 as something they want to buy. So this was a high price thing. And then Prima, they priced theirs, I don't remember, but it was lower. It was like $99. Psychologically, people will not buy over $100. They just don't, like, they have a mind block. It's been tested, which is why you see things that are $69.99 or $59.99 or 2 payments of $99.99. There's a psychological block to having something over $100. So they're finally done with their thing, and I think that Arete did a good job because Layla had such great relatability that trumped the other team. That was my first instinct on how well they did. I thought that Arete had won it. So anyway, so in the boardroom, and so for the Prima team who had the, what was it? Double flex. Prima team had the double flex. It sold 88 units, and it had a total sales of $8,798. The Arete team, who had the Slide, they sold 156 units at $17,158. They blew them out of the water. So obviously Arete won. And so the Prima team was in the boardroom. So it's Lisa, Boy George, and Carson. So Lisa said that nothing shifted, and that the governor thought that when things weren't moving, that Lisa should have took the helm and come out. And I agree. I think that if Lisa had come out, this lean, you know, Lisa is 44 years old. Yes, she's an athlete, but she hasn't been an athlete for quite some time. She still has a fit body. She's had children. She could appeal to women. Even though she's fit, she could still appeal to women to have an attainable body. I'm going to be 47 years old very soon, okay? I have been an athlete my whole life. When I think of my best self, I look at women whose bodies that I feel like I could achieve, whether I can do it or not. Women who once had a fit body or a thin body or whatever their ideal body was, they are still looking at other women that appeal to them. And so it's not even so much the fact that you can be that person, it is the appeal. And Lisa totally missed the mark about using her athleticism and female nuances. Say, listen, let me tap in when I see something's not right. You need me. And she didn't advocate that, and that was a demise on their part. So Boy George's testimony was too short. It didn't bring people in because Carson spent so much time talking that when Boy George came in, he could have had a compelling story. And he did talk about maintenance. He did disclose that he didn't use the double flex. But it doesn't matter because it takes a lot of work to lose weight. God knows I'm on that journey, but it takes also a lot of weight to maintain. And that was a way to bring it in. But he was such a blip on the screen that nobody could really pay attention. So Arnold Schwarzenegger decided he's going to fire 2 people. And this is what made me sad. So this is what he decides. The governor has decided that Carson has been the project manager, and on each time he has not won. And that Lisa has been in the boardroom 5 times out of 7 losses. And for that reason, he decided that he was going to ask Lisa and Carson. So Boy George was the only one standing. I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. And it was so funny because Carson said that when he was with Boy George, he thought that him and Boy George was going to be at the end. And I like Carson. Carson, see, I remember Carson in the show Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and I really loved him. And this was the first time that like mainstream media got to see all it is about guys and putting on their flair and their expertise. And listen, you need to Google Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. That was an awesome show. That was back then when it was light and people weren't all uptight, and Carson was revamping and doing makeovers for manly men, and it was just a good show. Google's Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and Carson is just the same as he is today as he was in the 2000s. Anyway, Boy George survived. I'm happy about that very much. Anyway, next week there's going to be the one final episode before the finale. So I am very excited. I don't know what it's going to be, but that is the end of my review. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this review. It's been late. I had to go and read my notes to see if I was doing everything I needed to recap on this episode. Thank you so much. You can find me on other social media platforms. Check me out on Periscope. Check me out on Instagram, and check me out on Twitter. Same name, keep it as simple. I may not review Married to Medicine, but I may be tweeting, so look out for that. And like, comment, share. Thank you guys so much. I so appreciate your patience, and take care of yourself and each other, and I will talk to you really soon. I'm gonna edit and upload, and I hope you enjoy it. Take care for now. Bye.